I never imagined that the wide-open skies of Montana could feel so suffocating. My name is Emily Hayes, and at 32, I just landed the role of operations manager at Big Sky Logistics, a freight company hauling goods across the Rockies. The promotion felt like a win after years of grinding through spreadsheets and supply chains, but that high didn't last. One crisp autumn evening, as the sun dipped behind the Bitterroot Mountains, my phone rang with news that shattered everything. MS. Hayes, this is Bitterroot Valley Hospital. Your father, Jack Hayes, suffered a massive heart attack. He's in critical condition. The words hit like a stampede. Dad had built Hayes Ranch and Freight from a dusty cattle operation into a $4.5 million empire spanning ranching and trucking. He was the rock of our world, tough as old leather, teaching me to mend fences before I could ride a horse properly. I sped down Highway 93, the truck's tires kicking up gravel, my mind racing through memories of him showing me how to spot a bad deal or negotiate with feed suppliers. When I burst into the ICU, the beeps of machines echoed like thunder in a canyon. Dad lay there, his weathered face pale under the fluorescent lights, tubes snaking across his chest. But even hooked up like that, he had that unyielding Hayes grit, the salt and pepper beard he'd trim every Sunday, the calloused hands that had shaped our land. Emily, thank God you're here. Victoria's voice slithered in, sharp as a barbed wire fence. My stepmother, 45 and polished like a city slicker who'd wandered into ranch country, crossed the room in her high-heeled boots. She'd married Dad 3 years back after a chance meeting at a livestock auction in Missoula.
Vir romance.
She called it, I saw it as a calculated land grab. Her auburn hair was perfectly coiffed, makeup hiding any real emotion. The docs say it's touch and go. He might not pull through, she said, clutching a tissue but not shedding a tear. He'll fight through it, I shot back, brushing past her to grip Dad's hand. It was warm, steady, like the man himself.
Eminência.
Jake's drawl came from the corner, lazy as a summer afternoon. My half-brother, 28, sprawled in a chair like he owned the place. Tall like Dad, but soft around the edges, no ranch calluses on those hands. While Dad busted his back expanding the freight lines, Jake partied through his community college degree on Dad's dime, landing a cushy development manager gig at the ranch. We were just talking about the business. With Dad down, someone's gotta step up. Their eyes met. A quick flicker that set my alarms blaring. Vultures spotting a weak calf. The ranch has a solid crew, I said evenly. Foreman Ramirez can handle daily ops till Dad's back. If he comes back, Victoria corrected, her voice dripping sympathy that didn't reach her eyes. We gotta be practical, Emily. Jake's been right by Jack's side. Learnin' the ropes. Learnin' the ropes? I nearly scoffed. Jake had botched the last feed contract, costing us thousands because he skimmed the fine print. And that trucking expansion to Idaho? I'd crunched the numbers while he was off networking at a Vegas rodeo. Enough, Victoria hissed. This ain't the time. She was right, it wasn't. But as I sat there, watching Dad's chest rise and fall, I vowed silently, these leeches wouldn't strip away what he'd poured his soul into. The nurse came in, and I caught Victoria probing her about Dad's mental state post-attack. Jake was texting furiously, something about an urgent board call. They were scheming already. But they'd forgotten. I was Jack Hayes' daughter, raised on balance sheets and boundary lines, while Jake learned to charm his way out of chores and Victoria plotted her next move. They saw me as the emotional kid sister. They'd learned the hard way. The hospital coffee tasted like motor oil, but at 2 a.m., it kept me going. Memories flooded in like a flash flood. I was 8 when Mom passed breast cancer. Quick and cruel. Dad buried his grief in the ranch, expanding from cattle to freight to outrun the pain. But he never left me behind. Evenings, he'd perch on my bed, spinning yarns about outsmarting shady suppliers or dodging market crashes. Folks'll try to fence in what's yours. He'd say, ruffling my hair. Not 'cause they're bad apples, but 'cause they smell weakness. Don't give an inch. For a decade, it was us against the world. I learned trucking routes over pancakes, ranch economics before my learner's permit. Then Victoria blew in like a dust storm. I was 19, heading to Montana State for business. Dad met her at that auction. She was fresh off a divorce, all smiles and flattery. At first, I was glad he deserved some light. But once she moved in, things shifted. Mom's old photos vanished from the mantel. Too hard on Jack, she claimed. My childhood room became her meditation space while I was away.
Jake tagged along.
Her son from the ex. Spoiled rotten. Already flunking out of trade school. Victoria sweet-talked Dad into giving him a job. He needs a steady hand. Darling.
Dad.
Eager for family harmony.
Obliged.
Jake got a truck, a title, and pay that dwarfed my starting wage. When I graduated with honors and joined the ranch ops, I got a desk in the back office.
Jake?
Prime spot overlooking the pastures. It burned, but I got why Dad played along. Victoria coiled around him, isolating him from old ranch buddies. They stress you out, honey. She wedged into every meeting, always boosting Jake. Painted me as the resentful holdout.
Dad.
Worn from long hauls and lonely nights. Let it slide. Our morning chats faded. When I flagged Jake's padded expense reports, booze and bets disguised as client meets, Dad brushed it off. Jake's family now.
Eminencia.
Ranch is big enough for y'all. But I knew Victoria craved the whole spread. Every fake tear, every whispered nudge, aimed at the deed. She'd hitched her wagon to Dad's fortune, but overlooked the Hayes backbone in me.
Now.
Nursing that awful coffee. I saw the endgame. Dad's attack wasn't planned, but Victoria adapted fast. Jake's text confirmed. Board meet tomorrow. Let's lock in leadership. Play nice. I grinned for the first time that night. They thought me cornered. Big mistake. While they schemed, I'd been fortifying the fences. The emergency meeting in our ranch office smelled of fresh hay and old coffee. I arrived early. Victoria was already queen bee at the head of the oak table, Dad's spot. Jake lounged beside her in a starched shirt, reeking of aftershave. Emily. Glad you made it, Victoria purred, as if I were tardy. The board, 5 locals who'd ridden with Dad through droughts and booms, shuffled in. She'd been working them, steak dinners at the saloon, invites to her charity rides. With Jack sidelined, she started. We need steady hands. Doc's hint at long recovery. Maybe brain fog from the attack. She slid over a report from some DR. Ellis, vague warnings about diminished capacity. What docs? I cut in. Dad's cardiologist said no neuro issues.
Victoria Ismail Sinley.
Second opinion. We proposed Jake as interim head, full reins on ops. Board chair, Hank Miller. Dad's fishing buddy.
Frowned.
What about Emily? She's run point on freight for years. She's too raw right now, Victoria cooed. Jake's got the experience. I pulled on my laptop. Let's check Jake's track record. That botched Idaho route? Lost us $50K in delays. Jake reddened. Not relevant.
It was.
That morning, My IT guy had emailed dirt, messages from Victoria to a lawyer about preemptive competency challenges, dated weeks before the attack. I beamed them up. The board went quiet. Out of context, Victoria snapped. Planning a grab before he even fell ill? Coincidence. I pressed. Hank stood. Table this till Jackson put. Motion carried. They stormed out. But Victoria whispered, "This ain't done. Who do you think calls shots on his care?"
Battle won mine.
But the war brewed. After the meeting, I drove the winding roads back to the hospital, the Montana peaks standing sentinel under a starlit sky. Dad's eyes fluttered open for the first time since the attack. Weak but clear. He rasped, squeezing my hand. "What's the ranch status?" I filled him in gently, no need to spike his blood pressure. But his jaw set when I mentioned Victoria's play. "Should have seen it comin'," he muttered. "Loneliness makes fools of us."
Don't blame yourself, I said.
Focus on healing. I've got the reins for now. He nodded, but worry creased his brow. Get Michael on it. Our lawyer. Update the trusts. Michael Lawson, Dad's attorney since the ranch's early days, met me at a diner in Hamilton the next morning. Over black coffee and biscuits, I laid out the emails, the shady report. "This smells like fraud," he said, rubbing his stubbled chin. "In Montana, competency's a high bar, needs court eval. But if they're pushing this, we counter with real docs."
We did.
Dad's cardiologist,
Dr.
Ramirez, confirmed no cognitive hit. We filed for a protective order, barring Victoria from medical decisions without oversight. Legally, as his spouse, she had pull, but with suspicions brewing, the judge granted a temp guardian me till a hearing. Victoria didn't take it lying down. She showed up at the ranch house that evening, Jake trailing like a shadow. "This is my home too," she snarled, waving papers. "You can't lock me out." "Actually, I can," I replied, calm as a still pond. "Dad's trust owns the property. Your tenants out will till sorted." Jake puffed up. "You're tearing the family apart."
Eminencia.
"Mom's just worried. Worried about the deed," I shot back. "Get off the land or I'll call the sheriff." They left, tires spinning dust. But not before Jake muttered, "You'll regret this." The threats started subtle. Anonymous calls to suppliers, hinting at instability at Hayes. A freight contract fell through. Coincidence? I doubted. Then, Dad's condition dipped. Nurses found his IV tampered. Traces of a sedative that could have fogged his mind permanent-like. Security cams caught a stranger in scrubs slipping out. I called the Bitterroot County Sheriff, old friend of Dad's. "Attempted harm," he said gravely. "We'll investigate." Fingerprints led to a hire from Billings, paid in cash. The trail? A wire from an account linked to Jake's business expenses. I confronted them at their motel in town.
"This ends now," I said.
"Or the law takes over."
Victoria laughed.
Bitter. "You got nothing but hunches." But I had more. Michael's dig uncovered Victoria's past. Her first marriage ended in bankruptcy fraud charges.
Dropped on a technicality.
Jake had priors, DUI.
Petty theft.
They weren't just greedy. They were cornered. Debts piling like snow in winter. Dad rallied. Transferred to rehab. We talked daily, rebuilding what Victoria had eroded. "I let her in 'cause I missed your mom," he confessed. "But you're the heart of this place." I smiled. "We're fixin' it together." The shareholder meet loomed. Our ranch was part corp, with investors in cattle and freight.
Victoria Ralidalais.
Buying shares through shells. But I was ready. evidence stacked like hay bales. The day before, Jake called, voice shaky. Let's deal. We walk away for a cut, say, $500,000.
No dice, I said.
Face the music. He hung up, defeated. That night, I pored over docs in the ranch office, the wind howling outside. A creak, someone at the door. I grabbed Dad's old shotgun. Heart pounding. Who's there? No answer. Morning light revealed tire tracks, not ours. Close call. The meet at the community hall was tense. Folks in boots and ties milling. Victoria strode in, flanked by a slick lawyer from Denver. Jake looked wrecked, eyes darting. I took the podium. Before votes. See this. Slides showed the shells tracing to Victoria's ex-law firm. The 4 tampering report. Emails plotting incapacity. Gasps rippled. Lies.
Victoria yelled.
Then Dad wheeled in. Alert.
Dr.
Ramirez beside. Friends, he boomed. I trusted wrong. But Emily? She's proven. The trust holds. Votes swung our way, 85% for status quo. Sheriff deputies waited outside. Arrests followed for fraud. Tampering. But here's where mercy crept in. I pushed for plea deals. Lighter if they confessed.
Why?
Dad asked later. Revenge burns you up, I said. Better they learn. Pay restitution. He nodded. Wise.
Eminencia.
With the arrests, the ranch breathed easier. But the fallout lingered like dust after a herd drive. Victoria and Jake were held in county jail, awaiting trial. The DA built a case, attempted assault via the 4, wire fraud on the shares, embezzlement from ranch accounts. Jake had siphoned funds for gambling debts in Vegas casinos. In Montana, those crimes carried weight. Attempted harm could mean 10 to 20 years. Fraud adding more. But I didn't want pure vengeance. Nights by the fire, staring at Mom's old quilt, I wrestled with it. They'd nearly killed Dad, stolen our peace. Yet hate festered like a bad wound. Dad, recovering at home now, echoed that. They chose wrong.
Eminencia.
But prison ain't always the fix. Sometimes. Fasten, truth heals more. We met with the DA. Pushing for restorative justice, Montana had programs for nonviolent aspects. Victoria could avoid max time by confessing, paying back embezzled cash, community service on public lands.
Jake?
Rehab for his addictions, restitution through labor. Why go soft? The DA asked. 'Cause family's messy, I replied. But redemption's possible. They took the deal.
Partly.
At the plea hearing in Ravalli County Court,
Victoria stood.
Makeup gone. Looking small. I got greedy, she admitted. Voice cracking. Jack gave me a chance. I betrayed it for security. Jake mumbled agreement. Head down. Debts own me. Hurt the only family I had. Judge sentenced. Victoria. 5 years probation. $500,000 restitution. Divorce finalized.
Jake.
3 years suspended. Mandatory rehab. Work on a state ranch program. No more Hayes ties. Post-hearing.
Victoria approached.
Didn't expect mercy. Didn't do it for you, I said.
For us.
Carrying hate weighs a soul down. She nodded. Tears real this time. Lesson learned. Too late. Dad and I drove home. The Truckee River glittering beside the road. Proud of you. He said. Turned poison into something better. The ranch thrived after. We hired locals.
Expended eco-friendly freight, solar power trucks hauling organic beef.
I led ISO. Dad advising from his rocker on the porch. But shadows lingered. One evening, a letter arrived from Victoria, working at a shelter in Billings, helping women like me start over. Thanks for the chance. Enclosed, first restitution check. I showed Dad.
See?
People can change. He smiled. Like seasons in the West, harsh winters. But spring comes. Jake checked into rehab, sending sporadic updates. Learning to rope my demons, one read.
No worms.
But progress. Our family mended deeper. Dad and I rode the pastures, talking like old times. Missed this, he said, tipping his hat against the sun. Me too, I replied. But we got it back. A light lesson settled, greed blinds, but forgiveness frees. Not naive trust, but measured grace. It made us stronger. The ranch a beacon of resilience in Big Sky country. Yet peace proved fragile. Months later, a freight truck went missing, valuable cargo. Sheriff called. Inside job? Tracks lead to old associates of Jake's. My gut twisted. Had mercy backfired? I investigated. Poring over logs. Turned out, a disgruntled driver. Not linked. But it reminded, vigilance eternal. Dad chuckled. West ain't tame.
Eminencia. Neither are we.
True. We'd faced down vultures. Emerged wiser. The story wasn't revenge, it was rebirth. As winter blanketed the ranch in snow, the true healing began. Dad's strength returned slowly, morning walks turned to horseback rides, his laugh echoing across the fields like it used to. We'd sit by the wood stove evenings, hashing out business, new routes to Wyoming, partnerships with local tribes for sustainable grazing. No more isolation. We invited old friends over, rebuilding the community Victoria had frayed. But echoes of the betrayal surfaced. One stormy night, Jake showed up unannounced, rehab bracelet on his wrist, looking gaunt but sober. Need a talk, he said.
Hat and hunt.
I hesitated, shotgun nearby, but Dad waved him in.
Seat. Son.
Over coffee. Jake spilled. Mom pushed me into it all. Debts were mine, but the schemes?
Hers.
I'm paying now, working fences at a state spread. Hard, but honest. Why come here? I asked. Guarded. To apologize.
You gave me a shot at fixin' myself.
Won't waste it. Dad nodded. Families earned, not given. Prove it. Jake left with a nod.
No promises.
But a spark of hope. Months later, he sent photos, him mending wire. Clean shaven. Small steps.
Victoria fadet quieter.
Her restitution came steady. Rumors said she volunteered at a women's ranch, teaching financial literacy. Ironic, but fitting. No contact, but no malice either. The ranch boomed. We hit record hauls, donating profits to heart health clinics in rural Montana. I spoke at a chamber event. Trials test us, but grace rebuilds. Audience nodded. Folks hear new hardship, droughts, market crashes. My story resonated. A Western tale of grit and redemption. Yet doubt nagged. Was mercy weakness? Dad dispelled it one dawn, as we watched elk graze. You didn't just save the ranch.
Eminencia.
You saved us from bitterness. That's the real legacy. He was right. The lesson light, but profound. In the vast West, holding grudges is like carrying stones uphill.
Dropping.
Climb free. Spring brought renewal. Calves dotted the pastures, freight lines expanded green. Dad handed me full CEO reins. Your turn to lead. I accepted. Heart full. No fanfare, just us, under the endless sky. Summer sun baked the Montana earth as the ranch pulsed with life, trucks rumbling out, cattle lowing in harmony. Dad, fully mended, took advisory role, fishing more than fretting. Our bond, forged in fire, shone brighter. Jake visited occasionally, helping with roundups. Feels good. Ear need my keep, he'd say, sweat on his brow. No instant family, but tentative trust built like a sturdy barn.
Victoria,
A final letter, found peace in helping others. Your forgiveness taught me worth more than wealth. We didn't reply, but closure settled. The empire grew, rooted in ethics, fair wages, eco practices. At a town fair, I reflected, greed nearly destroyed us, but compassion saved. Lesson whispered, in life's drama, revenge tempts, but humanity endures. Choose wisely, it echoes eternal. Weed one not by crushing, but rising. Hey strong, forever.